What is going on, guys? Welcome back to your 20-second tutorial, and in this tutorial we're going to be beginning to talk about something called event handlers. Now, an event handler is basically our first step towards creating a more interactive and dynamic web page. An event handler is basically running a bit of JavaScript code in response to a user action. For example, whenever they roll over a button or whenever they click a mouse. This is when we can set the JavaScript code to run instead of just running everything right as the web page alone. So as you can see, instead of just making everything happen when the web page loads, we wait for the user's action and it creates the feel of like an interaction. So let's go ahead, and enough of me talking, it's a lot easier if you just see what's going on. So let me go ahead and mention a few things first. First of all, when you're working with event handlers, you don't always need to place the JavaScript inside those two special scripting tags. Event handlers are, it's kind of special. It's possible to make it outside those scripting tags, and for the first example, that's what I'm going to show you guys how to do. So aside from that, I better mention this. Event handlers can be placed in many locations on a web page. They kind of look like just basic XHTML attributes, but instead of like writing color equals blue, instead of writing a value like blue, this is where you insert the JavaScript. So let's go ahead, and I guess it would be easiest for me to just make one. So one place you can insert event handlers are in form elements, specifically form buttons. So let's go ahead and make a form, and we'll go ahead and insert some event handlers in here. So go ahead and make your basic form, and then go ahead and make one input. We only need one input, just a basic button on the screen. And in case you forgot from my XHTML tutorials how to do this, you just go ahead and write inputs type equals button. And for the value is basically what is your button gonna say, and we'll just write touch me. So let's go ahead and end this right now, and we'll see what we got. We got a basic plain old button on the screen, doesn't do anything. You just click it a bunch of times and nothing happens. Pretty boring, huh? So let's go ahead and use event handlers to spice this up a bit. Now, event handlers are pretty much built-in keywords that your computer recognizes and knows that it's JavaScript. You don't have to tell it in another function that it's JavaScript. Your browser automatically knows the event handler. So whoever created your browser, they already typed them in there for you. So the only thing you have to remember is these different keywords for event handlers. And the most, well, I don't want to say commonly used because I never did a survey on it, but one of the most commonly used event handlers is called on click, and make sure the C is capitalized. And this is a keyword that says whenever the user clicks this element, and in this case a button right here, then I want to run the bit of JavaScript code in here. So anything you type in between these quotation marks, it has to be JavaScript code, and that's what's going to be ran whenever the user clicks this button. So go ahead, and I'm just going to make a basic alert box. So go ahead and type alert and add your parameters, but check this out. You know, however we make an alert that we usually type some text into it and we put it in double quotation marks like hey now or something like that? Well, since we're working inside an XHTML attribute right now and we have all these double quotation marks, these quotation marks right here tell JavaScript, or excuse me, tell your browser that we're working with attributes. So we can't use those same quotation marks in here. So instead of double quotation marks, we need to use single quotation marks so we don't confuse it. So it doesn't really have an effect on your program at all. It just differentiates between the double ones for your attributes and the single ones for your JavaScript. So go ahead, put single quotation marks in your parameter, and go ahead and write something like or write something stupid. And now, just like in JavaScript, with every statement we have to end it with a semicolon. This lets our browser know that we're done running this bit of JavaScript code. So go ahead and save that, refresh it, and our web page looks the same right now, but in fact it's not the same because whenever we touch this button, check it out, an alert box pops up that says pretty cool. So let's go ahead and press OK, and that's the basic of an event handler. So as you can see, before, whenever we were working with JavaScript, our web page loaded and all the JavaScript ran and it did whatever it did, and that was basically it. But now we can wait for the user input, and whenever they do something such as click a button, then the JavaScript code runs, and it's just a way to make the web page more interactive and more dynamic. So aside from that, I guess I have time to mention one more thing. You know how I added one statement in there on the onClick attribute, and whenever we touched it, a bit of JavaScript code ran? Well, since we added a semicolon, we can add more than one statement in here. So, for example, let's go ahead and add one alert box that says and let's go ahead and add another one right after that. So, alert, and of course, remember to use your single quotes right in here, and just go ahead and write like 2 times or something different from your first so you can tell that it's different. So now we have two different statements. Whenever we click it using this onClick event handler, first it says alert and then it says alert 2 times. Pretty stupid, but hey, it works. So I just clicked the button and it wasn't even in the screen. So check it out. Touch it, press OK, and then it says, oh, I didn't refresh it. There we go. Touch it, and check it out 2 times. And you might have this happening if your code isn't running exactly how you want it. In some browsers, in order to prevent a bunch of ads from popping up, or if you have any like anti-ad, what's it called, antivirus or anti-spyware built into your computer, only one pop-up will pop up. And it's not because your code is wrong, it's because your browser thinks that you're trying to post a whole bunch of ads, so it'll only pop up one at a time. So if that's happening, then that's your browser, not your code. But anyways, what I want to show you guys here is you're not limited to only one statement. You can add more than one statement. You can add 500 if you want. But you see how I added 2 statements right in here? Whenever you have like 3 or more statements, it's probably easier just to add a function, and then whenever you make your function before, you can just add all your statements in there. But for now, this is just a quick example, so there you go. So anyways, that's the basics of an event handler. I showed you onClick in this tutorial, but in the next tutorial we're going to be going over different types of event handlers, and you'll begin to see why they're useful and what we can do with them. So that's what you got to look forward to. If you have any questions, check out my website or ask me on my forum, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next video.